So next we'll go on to the presentation of the 48th District Court, and tonight we have Patrick Dunn here, who is the court administrator.
Good evening. Thanks for having me here tonight. My name's Patrick Dunn. I'm the court administrator of the 48th District Court, and I'm pleased to be here tonight in person to present the 2023 budget on behalf of the judges of the 48th District Court. I know tonight's agenda included our written proposal for the budget, and the judges and I took quite a bit of time on that written proposal because we wanted you to see how the court has been operating over the last year and some of the recent changes that have impacted the operations of the court. These changes include the continued use of Zoom for the benefit of the public and police agencies we serve where appropriate, and the full return of in-person criminal proceedings. The goal of the judges and the staff at the 48th District Court is to provide a fair and unbiased forum for the resolution of all disputes. All parties entering the court are treated with courtesy and respect. Every individual is entitled to his or her day in court, and it is the court's obligation to ensure due process is afforded to all. We strive to run our operation in a manner which is accessible, efficient, and timely for those we serve. The court operates on a calendar year and is subject to an annual audit. Chief Judge Mark Barron, Judge Diane D'Agostini, and I presented the court's proposed budget for 2023 to representatives of Birmingham, Bloomfield Township, and West Bloomfield on November 30th, 2022. The costs of operating the court and the fees collected by the court are shared by these three funding units based on caseload percentage. For 2022, the Township of Bloomfield has advanced the court approximately $2 million towards the overall operation of the court. These funds have been used for employee salaries, benefits, court operations, professional fees, security, and capital improvements. The court is proposing a total budget of $4,834,223 for the operation of the court in 2023. Based on current year projections, the Township of Bloomfield would advance $1,990,000 of that amount. We recognize the increase in the proposed budget for next year, but the inflationary rise in expenses that all businesses are experiencing is likewise present at the court. The court is also trying to retain our highly trained staff as we respond to ongoing legislative changes and the implementation of electronic filing. While the court has always been diligent in the managing of its budget, it realizes the township has had to use more of its general fund resources to finance the operation of the court due to the departure of Bloomfield Hills as a funding unit. Knowing that employee salaries and benefits account for a substantial portion of court expenses, the following measures have been taken by the court. At the end of 2019, the court had 37 employees. The court currently employs 33 people, 5 of which are part-time, to help reduce the number of employees utilizing the court-sponsored medical insurance and receiving court-sponsored retirement contributions. To achieve this reduced staff level, the court has not filled an open law clerk position for Judge D'Agostini, an open cashier position, and has decreased supervisory personnel from 3 to 2. Employees hired after 2007 are not eligible to receive retiree health care benefits and receive a reduced contribution to their retirement plan. The court is likewise closely reviewing all equipment leases and service contracts to try to reduce monthly payments and maintenance costs. We believe our budget is reasonable and necessary. We shall continue to strive for an efficient operation that is always protective of taxpayer dollars. Any unused budget funds will be returned to the funding units. Thank you for your time and consideration tonight. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I know that my understanding is that there is a power presentation where I think they probably put the entire part of the budget proposal. I'm happy to go through any portion of that or all of it if anyone has any questions.
Anyone have any questions? And if so, if you let us know the page, we can pull it up.
Wait, can I ask a question?
Yeah.
How much is I'm looking in the deck, I can't find our budget contribution. I see the total budget. I see a breakdown, and then I see distributions. But I don't see what our budget
Yes.
contribution is.
Your budget contribution is, believe in there, I provided that as part of the verbal presentation just to give you an idea of what you might be looking at based on how 2022 caseload percentage is going. So the Township of Bloomfield's caseload has dropped somewhat. So while this last year you contributed on our current projections of caseload, it would be slightly below $2 million for 2023 based on this proposed budget amount, total budget amount.
Okay.
Would it help if we pulled up the PowerPoint so you could show where it is in here?
Yeah, I don't know if that portion of it, yeah,
It's not in.
yeah.
Okay,
you know,
and then the judicial reimbursement, I know the state pays the salaries of the judges, is that correct, or is it one judge?
The state does pay for the salary of the judges. A portion of that is paid through our payroll. The state reimburses fully that portion. As a matter of fact, they send a check to the township based on where the court is located. And then that reimburses. The other portion of the judge's salary is paid to them directly by the state of Michigan. But
it.
their entire salary is paid by the state of Michigan. It's just a portion of it works differently.
Anyone else have any questions?
You mentioned that the funds and the budgets are audited.
Yes.
Can you discuss briefly the outcome of the most recent audit?
Yes, so the audit is to not only make sure that the court is that all the advancements that we receive from the funding units are properly allocated to our expenses, but it also covers the court revenue, fines and costs, fees that the court collects for cases. So what the auditors do is they kind of separate both of those. They start with court revenue, fines and costs that come into the court, and they take a sample of cases. So they'll provide us, on the first day of the audit, they might provide 60 to 80 cases that will be pulled, and they will go through those cases to make sure that the court is allocating the fines and costs that come in on a case in accordance with the law and in accordance with the operating agreement. On the expenditure side, and they will make sure that the court is how the advancements come in, what expenses are being paid by the court, and they'll make sure that all that money balances and reconciles. They will also audit the caseload percentage. So once again, they take a sample of they don't go through every case, but they go through a sample of cases and see that we are attributing each case to the correct funding unit or subunit to make sure that the caseload is correct.
And the last audit was a clean audit result?
It was a clean audit result, yes, yes. And we provide that audit to the funding units. At the same time, we also do a true-up. So basically what we do, we give each funding unit a monthly disbursement at the beginning of the next month of what revenue came into the court. We hold that revenue back for the months of October, November, and December until after the audit is completed. They do a true-up, and then we issue the final revenue check to each of the funding units based on the correct caseload percentage.
Great, thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
Just a comment, just also looking at the packet that you supplied, so it also looks like the courts is in need of upgrading the computers and some of the software. It's been very dated, so that's part of the proposal for why these funds are needed in addition.
Somewhat, yeah. We have tried to offset that quite a bit. One of the revenue that does come into the court, besides what the funding units advance to the court, is the state of Michigan does provide, at the end of each year, they look at how many drunk driving cases have been processed by the court, as well as drug driving cases, and they issue a check to the court. It's called the Drunk Driving Fund. We have utilized that fund in communication with the funding units this year to upgrade our computers down in the probation department, anywhere that we can better effectively process drunk driving and drug driving cases. So we have been able to offset some of those costs for computers, new hardware and software. We also were able to offset some of those costs with a grant from the Michigan State Police for COVID, anything related to COVID expenses. So we were able to offset some of those expenses by use of those grant funds. We received about $15,000, a little bit less than what we would have liked to and what we applied for. But unlike the prior year, they decided to award courts that were struggling with backlog of trials. Those courts were allocated the most amount of money from the grant funds. We're lucky enough to get through all our trials and get back on track, so we had a smaller amount that they allocated to us.
Thank you.
I'll teach you.
Job well done. That's right,
Unfortunately,
job
they
well
didn't-
No
done.
good deed goes unpunished.
Yeah, they didn't let us know that in the application process,
Yeah.
only in how they awarded them afterwards.
Is there a motion that we need?
So the motion would then be to accept and approve.
So moved.
So, motion by trustee Shostak, support by treasurer Keeps. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? That does pass. Thank you for coming.
Thank you so much for having
Time
me.
you guys gave all of the 7 communities the other day. That was very helpful.
Good, I'm glad it helped.
Thank you.
Thank you.